That was interesting, right? But now let's get into Omar Sharif's story, his case. Back in August 3rd of 2010, he brought a gun to his job and killed 9 of his fellow co-workers and injured 2 other ones. The reason why? Institutionalized racism. And through the strangest turn of events, I got illegally detained at a light in East Hartford a few months ago, and his mother saw what was happening and we exchanged information. At that moment, I didn't know that was his mother. But when I found out, I said, wow, this is amazing. I have to have an interview with her. And I was surprised at a lot of things she said. I did not know all of that contributed to the case. I did not know he was going through so much in life and at work. And you may be surprised at what you find out after this. So here's the clip. Is this like the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg that got you into like talking about racial injustice?
This is what put me into an area that I had no familiarness with when I lost my son.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so how, like, you know, if you could talk about your experience with that and how you feel like you're at right now with like dealing with, you know, as you said, like people dealing with the injustices of workplace discrimination and all these civil rights issues that have followed, you know, your son's incident. How are you dealing with that today? Like, you know.
It's an ongoing battle. Actually, I'm still fighting it. I'm still trying to get people to become more aware of what happened to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And my point is that when you're, how do I put it? I don't want to sound so out of there, but when you're a black, when you're dark-skinned and you have a situation, they always try to switch it around to something different.
Mm-hmm.
In my son's case, you have 2 Caucasians, white people, that are actually saying, we saw the noosing in the bathroom around the president's neck and die nigger Omar on the wall. But that was overlooked because when you're poor and you don't have monies, you don't have people to investigate things. You have police officers, investigators went to Hartford distributors and they said there was no races found here.
Yeah.
How do you come to that conclusion when you have a noosing around the president's neck, President Barack Obama's neck, a picture with the noosings around his neck, and die nigger on the wall, and you have employees that saw this, and you have a girlfriend, which is white, and you have her mom, they both saw the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They took the phone and everything, and then they lock it all up so that I wouldn't have that information. That's just another racist move.
And did your son tell you about any of this prior to this
He
incident
told
happening?
me things like that was going on at the company, but me, I thought it would be just like any other racist time or time that he dealt with oppression from other races of people, but he just got through it. And I thought it was just one more of those times, you know, which people say all the time, why didn't he just leave, or why didn't he just file the complaint against them? But that would be difficult when you tried everything in the system, and the system is so broken against black people.
It's also hard for us to get a job.
It's broken. It's broken. And because he had went through so many, you got to read this book. He's went through so many different trials and tribulations, and everyone at the end, the judge would give the decision to the other person because it was usually always someone white that was there, and the judge would say, okay, well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And so he never would win, even though he was in the right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that, like, you know, when dealing with this, do you think like more black men need to speak up on this and tell people around them?
I think that this is a racism that doesn't get recognized, and the reason why it doesn't get recognized because they're so focused on the police officer shooting someone. So we as a people are dying every day from the type of racism that my son died from.
Do you feel as if black males have to deal with like racism on a higher level than any other group?
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about, you know, you being a black woman, you being a subjugated person yourself? How do you feel like your battle is an experience in comparison to the black males as a black woman from your personal point of view? Like, do you feel like it differs? Like, you know, your experience as a black male dealing with discrimination, black female dealing with discrimination. Do you feel like it's so far apart from the black males' experience in America?
I think that black males are more targeted than black women are.
Yeah.
But black women are also targeted as well. But I think black males are the gold mine for the targeting, because we have the prisons are more black men incarcerated than any other race of people.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, which is really terrible. And then, if you notice something, every time something happens to a black man, he's a thief, he's a crook, he did something in order to make him liable for that situation. And in my son's case, he talked to 911 and he told them why he did what he did. And they still switched the story around and said, oh no, he was stealing, he did this and that. And my son had 2 medical degrees. And
really?
And he had his Class A driver's license. It's all in the book. So he was well prepared to deal with whatever he was dealing with and jobs and all this other stuff, but he was just tired.
And your son had no prior, like, violent history?
My son owned his own guns.
Legally?
He was licensed, yes. He was licensed. He never was arrested before. Never had no criminal history. None of that. Even when the news reporters first came out, they said, oh, the proper protocol wasn't called, because the company said, we fired him for stealing. If you fire somebody because they're stealing, you're supposed to march them out of the building.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. Why?
Maybe he wasn't stealing.
No, there you go. And then if you had an investigator, would he not tell you that this young man has like an arsenal of guns?
Yeah.
So they lied again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think it's just and when it comes to the lies, have you ever, tried to bring it up in like court or?
I never got a chance to go to court because the money for them, I'm like a nobody or a nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have monies. I was a struggle for me to just do this book because I refused to just let them pull the cover over things and act like he's a thief and he's just a thief and want a job. He was not that person.
Yeah.
So because I refused to do that, I did this book.
Yeah.
But as far as fighting them in court, I never got that opportunity.
And it would be way too much money, I assume. Right?
I couldn't afford it. This is what happened. This is why most black people are in jail now. Because you go to court and they say to you, you take this years that we have, or you have a trial, and you're going to be guilty, and you're going to get 10 more years.
Yeah.
So you say I'm guilty and take 4.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. I didn't have money to fight the way I should have.
Yeah.
So they just took advantage of it and just got everything and covered things up and just kept lying.
You never had any inclination that your son was hurting from working at his job?
I did. I did, but not the extent of how much. Because he was a young black man.
Age?
He was 34 when he passed away, but he had been struggling because of the fact that he was always that type of person that wanted things. He didn't want to just sit there and not do nothing.
Yeah.
He wanted to build his own life.
Yeah.
He wanted to just have the American dream.
Yeah.
So that was a struggle within itself.
Explain some of the things that you noticed from your son when dealing with his pain prior to this going on.
Only thing I noticed with them as far as his pain, every time he would try to do whatever he was trying to do the right way, they always had a way of bringing him down, or they would do something to make whatever promise they had not go through. You'll see it in the book. I even talk about changing contracts because they were taking advantage of them, and I would go to companies and talk to them and change contracts that they had that didn't make no sense.
Yeah. What do you mean by changing contracts?
Like one company had a contract with him where they had him paying for the truck to be fixed, paying for the rental truck that he was driving, and paying monthly payments for that, and paying for the rental truck. So I had to go talk to them, and they were in Windsor. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so I wrote up a contract at home myself.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart.
Hey,
but they signed it.
Yeah. Oh, wow, they signed it?
They signed it.
Oh.
And it changed what he was going through. I believe I still have that. I've got so much paper. Yeah.
Do you feel as if, black males should probably seek someone to speak to because of what they deal with in America? Or have some type of outlet that they're not provided?
You know, I believe that what's going on with the black male, I think that they're like, I think they're so targeted until people really aren't focusing on what happened to my son. They're more focused on when a police shoots somebody. That's when everybody comes out then, because that's the only thing that they can stand up for and don't get no backfire from it.
Yeah.
So they don't think about the underlayers of racism. That's what I'm trying to do now. Get them to talk about my book and what happened to my son.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think that, do you feel as if, like white America will ever be able to fully experience or understand the struggle of a black male, especially within the workforce and the struggles that they encounter from day to day?
I believe that a change will come. You
All
know?
right, you're optimistic.
Yes, I am. Because I say this because there was a point where we were outside in chain and we were sleeping in bonds. We were being raped. We were working for free. We did 400 years of free labor, free slave labor. So we're not there. We're not where we should be, but we're not where we was.
Yeah.
So I believe in change. And I believe if you can take a man out of being bonded in a yard with chains on his legs and he can't even pronounce his name because you changed it, and he has nothing of his own, and now today he can at least work and be recognized as a human when there was a point when we weren't recognized as a human. I believe in change, yes.
You believe in change?
Yes.
And you think it's like fully possible? There are a lot of people who aren't
I
as
believe
optimistic.
I believe it's possible, yes.
Do you understand the people who like are more pessimistic and don't understand?
And I say to them just what I'm saying to you. If we can come from a place with chain on our ankles and on our necks and being hanged up in the streets and being killed and working for 400 years of free slave labor that they're still profiting off of today, all things are possible.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot going on.
What do you feel like is going on? Do you feel like there's a movement against black people?
I don't feel like it's a movement against black people. I think that I know I saw where a cop was using drugs and then he went to get help and then they put him back into the same area where he was working with drugs. So I think they have opportunity to use drugs, and I don't know if the decisions that they're making is from old time decisions. You know, like when you see a cop that just shoots somebody and they really didn't have to, I always think about how many lives did that cop ruin before he got to that day with the camera on him. That always comes to my mind because I know that's not your first time as a police officer doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about that today. There was this woman that I seen, it was recently, she just turned 60. She was like one of the first women that it was recorded being spat on and whatnot during like, the early like 1900s and whatnot. And I was thinking, a lot of those people are still alive today. So it's not like, when we see all of this stuff going on in the country, it's not a lot of the older people, at the Trump rally, it's not a lot of these people first time being racist. A lot of these attitudes have been set in.
I asked the question, when they say you see all these people, they're young on the streets and they're racist, I asked the question, where do you think young supremacists come from?
Exactly.
Where do you think they come from?
Exactly. And these people are, are still around. They're still here.
Yeah, we deal with them every day on a regular basis. They're in all different types of office all the time.
And when it came to your son's story, what was like the high, what was the peak of media attention you remember it catching? Like the highs, was it like CNN?
It caught all the media because
Bill O'Reilly, any of these guys?
It caught everybody that I could ever think of because when it happened, I lived on Silver Lane, and they were like from Silver Lane all the way down to Stop and Shop. Every truck media that you could think of. Yeah, I've been on quite a few channels.
Yeah. What was the worst? When it came to media attention, what was the worst thing that you felt like you had to hear or deal with?
The Hartford distributors getting up and telling lies about we didn't do anything wrong and you need to go and find a paper to say that he was complaining.
How do you feel about people who are like, this guy's a monster? People who couldn't understand. How do you respond to
Well,
that?
that's what the news, when they first came out, they were saying the protocol wasn't done and stuff like that. Then they came back and they changed the whole story and said he was a monster, he was a thief, and he was a murderer and all this other stuff. And then that stuff was really true because the people that he went after were people that were selected that pushed him to that point. That day they were changing shifts. There were like a couple of hundred people. So if he was a monster to just shoot people, a lot more people would have died.
So it
that
wasn't
day.
like a Sandy Hook situation.
No,
it wasn't a massacre. It was a very thought out thing.
No, yeah. They were lying. They were calling the people saying, "Oh, he's chasing women around. He never shot not one woman."
And then does he have any kids or wife?
No, he doesn't have any kids and no wife. He didn't want any kids or any wife. He wanted to be married. He wanted to have a home, a place that he could build, that his kids could have things that they need to have. That's what he wanted. And that's the reason why he didn't want kids or anything until he got married, until he bought his own home. Stuff like that. He was always about business.
Yeah, very, very oriented, goal oriented.
Yeah, he made over $300,000 in his life at 34. It's in the book.
All right.
Yeah, he had his own. He had his own trucking company. So when you say black people, we also gear ourselves against each other.
Oh, we do.
Because,
we police each other too much.
Yeah, he had a business that he mainly hired black people. He was paying them $800 a week.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
but what they did to him.
The people, his own people didn't help him?
His own people.
How do you feel about that? When your own people
That's
turn
just,
your back
that's
on
the thing though, that's what we deal with. So you deal with the system that downgrade our people, and then you deal with us downgrading our own people. So we're fighting a system in both ways.
So you understand the ideal that, in order to have white supremacy, you need to have blacks against each other.
Well, you,
it's been said a lot.
Blacks have that mindset. That's a mindset that blacks have had from the beginning of time. It got into a point where a slave master didn't have to control his people.
Because you had and that
He
was
let
it.
a white person
you pit your
control
own
them.
people against each other.
Right. So what they did was take away the unity, take away the love, take away the respect. But this is a time now where we don't have to do what the ancestors may have taught years ago. We have our own minds and our own decisions to do the right thing for ourselves and for our people.
So you feel as if this mentality, like we haven't evolved completely as people in terms of where we should be with each other and within our own race. You feel like we're behind any other races in terms of being evolved and being the best that we can be.
To tell you just how it could be, how it is, people have said to me, well, you should have some copies of him complaining at the Hartford distributors. I'm like, how controlling you allow them to control your mind to even say that.
To you.
Right, you have a black man on 911 telling you why he did what he did. He's telling you his pain. And you don't see that at all.
And do we have any record of that in the call? Is there him explaining his pain? And
it's on 911.
All right,
it's on the, you went to the
I've
OST
seen
page?
the calls. I've seen the calls, yeah.
It's on the call. And then on the page even have, he basically dated Caucasians.
Oh.
Yeah, he only dated like maybe 2 black girls.
So do you think that hurt him even more, that he felt like, this is, I'm accepted, and then this is what you do to me? Was it?
He said to me that he thought that some of the people at that job didn't like him because of the fact that he dated someone that was Caucasian.
Do you feel like that's how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's
I feel that you have the racist people that would never accept that, and they never would accept it. And these were like all good old boys, because they're not young people. These were older men. I don't even know why would you take one black man and put him in the middle of 63 older white people to work with none of his own peers there. He was young. Now they have other black men working there, but when he got hired there, he was the only black one there.
Yeah.
As a driver, out of 64 drivers, he was the only black one.
That's a feat.
That's
itself.
racist within itself. Yeah.
Now, how did you feel immediately upon hearing this? Were you like, geez, like how did it hit you? First,
What?
like when this first happened, how did initially was the impact that it had upon you?
It was very great. Actually, my son called me,
Yeah.
and I talked to him for 7 minutes, but he had already killed them, and he just called me and told me to turn the TV off because he wanted me to know without the TV telling me.
Yeah.
And so I had that conversation with him, so I knew.
So he called you prior to it even airing on any
Before it
media
could,
channels?
before it could get there.
Jeez. And then how did you feel, once you first saw it in the media? What was that? What was that like?
Let's say when I talked to him, I actually passed out for like 5 minutes or something.
Like literally?
Literally just passed out. Yeah. And then when I saw it in the media, it was like very real then,
Surreal, yeah.
Because at first I looked at the phone to see the number, if it was his number or whose number is this, and it was actually a Hartford distributor's number. It wasn't even from his phone.
Yeah.
But I knew it was real, but I just needed to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's very powerful. I mean, just like the fact that you fainted because it meant so. Do you have any other sons?
Yeah, I do. One other one.
No, or is anyone else in your family, fighting injustices because of this happening so close to home?
No, not really.
No.
No.
No. Why
Actually, a lot of them think that I'm fighting an uphill battle because so many people lost their lives and my son is not alive anymore. And they think that, oh, you should just leave it alone because they don't understand like I do what happened to him. I will never leave it alone. And that's why I wanted to do this book because the door is never closed. It's always open. You can always find his side of the story, and that's important to me.
And do you feel as if there are people out there that understand your perspective?
I think they do, but fear is a terrible thing to have.
Fear is a terrible thing to have.
Yeah, you have to be where you don't have fear. And when I started talking about my son and what happened to him, I kind of just put myself aside.
Yeah.
And I no longer mattered. It just mattered to me to let the world know what really happened to him.
Yeah, so you put yourself on the back burner. This is not about me as a
it's
mother.
It's not about me.
This is about an
When you
issue
open
that
this
needs to be
book, I
addressed.
told you when you open this book on the first page that it's not about me. I think that's it on that page. Does it?
No, not this.
Really holiday. Okay, when you open it.
Bro.
When you open it and you read it, maybe it's over there. I can't really see it.
No,
I
it's
have my
alright.
glasses
In
on.
order to protect the victims.
Oh, no, that's there. It should have been on that first page. Or maybe it's on the next page. Well, maybe it's when you begin reading it. But it tells you there. I think it's over there on that side.
This book is not about me, Lily Holiday. The story is about my son, Omar Sharif Thornton, his life, his struggles, and his side of the story.
Yeah.
It's great. So you don't want people to have this perspective like this is a mom fighting, an uphill battle like you said yourself.
Right.
This is about an issue that needs to be faced and issues like this may continue to happen. Or people may
issues
continue.
like this continue to happen. Even like with what's his name in California? Christopher Dona.
I remember that was a big case. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty
Yeah.
wild. Christopher
And
Dona
I
too.
have the tape where they said, "Burn that nigger up."
So, you remember that?
Oh yeah, I have that tape. But then they came back and said, "Oh, we didn't say nothing like that."
Oh my gosh, the lies.
Yeah.
There is, it's so crazy. And when they get caught up in their lies, like even with Sandra Bland, they said, there's nothing that happened, boom, boom. And then, months later, there's this $1 million settlement that like kind of goes unnoticed. It pops up out of nowhere, and then the media has no coverage of it. Because I think it was more about paying someone as a villain than addressing the problem. Because that narrative is what sells. Right? And do you feel the same way?
Yeah,
There's
that's
a narrative
what
that has to be
happens.
pushed?
Yeah.
Instead of, being able to relate to people and being able
Here's what I believe. I believe that black men's rights have been taken away from them so much till the only thing that people really want to stand up to if the cops shoot you down. Because they just figure that's the thing to really stand behind. And that's what the largest black groups that we have that fights for rights and stuff like that. I see them standing up more for that because they didn't have the interest they should have had with my son, you know, with him losing his life. It was like things just shift.
So I mean, even so to wrap this up, do you feel like we have any rights? You were speaking on, the rights, and my mother often says, I often say, Mom, what rights do we think we have? She's very like Pan-Africanist, and she just comes to me and says, we don't have any rights. How do you feel about that statement?
Well, you have them, but in private you don't. You know, if they stop you in private, you don't have any rights.
Yeah.
With my son, with me fighting in courts with him, I've been to court with him on different occasions, and they say, no, we can't let you do this. No, we can't let you do that. And it just doesn't make any sense what they do to black people. They have a different standards for white people.
We know this.
It's just entirely different.
It's I don't know if there's any way.
It's almost like I look at how they do police officers. If a police officer, so many times they beating somebody black up, and then when their buddies come, they jump out the car and they kick them and punch him in the head and beat him too.
Yeah.
Why don't they get arrested?
Why don't they get arrested?
If you did that, if you and 10 of your boys got a police down or a white man on the ground, and all your boys come and they run, they kick him and jump, everybody going to jail.
Yeah, and there should be higher implications because now you're breaking the law as someone that's respected. There should be, instead there's lesser implications, but there should be more implications because if there were higher implications, that would make people do it less.
Yeah.
But the fact is you're letting people get away and then letting them be like custodians or letting them have like, being demoted to something. But still having a job within the workforce or being on temporary leave.
Because they don't take them and put them in the same category. Now they get more skeptical because so much has been going on with people saying, okay, we're not going to settle for this and whatever. So it's a different story now. It's a little bit different.